Hello, this is Mrs. Schuver, and thank you for joining the second lesson on the distance between two integers. The last lesson, our guided notes, talked about how you can find the distance using a number line, and then we also explored the distance using this formula. So we're going to focus on the formula today. However, the number line is here in order to help you. So let's read through the directions. Use the distance formula, the absolute value of p minus q, to find the distance between the given integers. First, substitute the integers in the formula. Second, use keep change change to rewrite the expression. Finally, find the absolute value, or the distance. You can use the number line to check a few of your answers. And letters A, B, and C are numbers that are small enough that we can see them on the number line. And the rest of the sheet we won't be able to use the number line. So we're going to start with letter A. We're going to look at the direction that says that we're supposed to first substitute in the formula. So I can either put 9 as P and -1 as Q. So I'm going to write 9 minus -1. But I have to have the absolute value bars on it. Or I could choose to use 1 as P, -1 as P, and 9 as Q. So I could write it this way, -1 minus 9, but again, the absolute bars have to be there. So it doesn't matter. We're going to see that in a minute. We are going to get two different answers, but inside the bars, and when we use those bars to find the absolute value, the final answer will always be positive. So if I use the second step, which says use keep change change to rewrite it, I'm going to get keep the 9, change the minus to a plus, change the number behind it to its opposite. And if I do the same thing on the other expression, I'm going to keep the -1, I'm going to change the minus to a plus, and I'm going to change that +9 to its opposite, which is -9. So it says, finally, find the absolute value. So I have to first add these numbers to get 10, and the absolute value of 10, how far is 10 away from 0? Well, it is 10 units away from 0. If I go to the next one, -1 plus -9 is -10, but I still have to find the absolute value of that, and the absolute value of any number is always a positive. It would be 10 units away from 0. So now let's look at letter B. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to set up the problem using this first step right here. Substitute the integers in the formula. So put that on your paper, please. You can switch the order, but I'm going to choose to write it as -8 minus 5. If you said you wanted to write it as 5 minus -8, that's just fine. It's okay to switch the order. It doesn't matter which one we call P and which one we call Q. Please complete the second step now. If we use keep change change, we should have -8 plus -5, but they're still underneath the absolute value bars. So if you changed it to -8 plus -5, you were correct. Now please find the final answer, which is the absolute value of that sum. So -8 plus -5 is -13. However, the absolute value of both of those is +13, and that's our final answer. And by the way, if you wanted to check this out, you could plot where -8 was, that was the original, and where 5 is, and you could count in between to see if it really is 13. That would be a good check. Would you please complete letter C from start to finish on your own, and then check back for the answer. Now I'd like you to complete D, E, and F. We're going to go through D. I'm going to ask you to show all 3 steps on your paper and then answer the follow-up question for what the answer is. After each letter, I'd like you to stop and check the answers on your paper, and if you need to make corrections, please do. We will say G through L or a later date. So pause now and complete D. The answer to letter D is positive 31. If you did not have this answer, check to see if you did a proper keep change change. Also check to make sure that you made this value positive. Now please find the answer to letter E. Be sure to show all 3 steps on your paper. The answer to letter E is 28. If you made an error, please go back and check. It could possibly be the keep change change. Some students also get confused with a positive value inside the absolute value signs, thinking they should make it into its opposite. If it's a positive or a negative, it stays positive, becomes positive. It's how far is that number away from 0. And another place that you need to remember is when you have 2 same sign answers, we add them and keep the sign. Just like we did for letter D, they're both negative, so we added them and kept the sign. Please try letter F, showing all 3 steps. The answer to F is positive 14. This is an example of adding 2 different sign numbers, which we really subtract. So that's kind of a tough rule to remember. And there's more positive value, so the answer is positive, and the absolute value is also positive. So we're now going to skip G through L, and we're going to go to the back side of the paper and talk about some word problems. All right, it says, based on the information in each word problem, write an expression using the distance formula. Then simplify it to answer the question. And simplify just means find the answer. And we have to go through those series of steps. So let's read through the problem, please. A diver descends 35 feet below sea level. His friend on the boat is standing 6 feet above sea level. How far apart in feet are the 2 friends? So let's use the highlighting method first. I noticed that it says 34 feet below sea level. That's the diver. And then his friend is 6 feet above sea level. And the question is how far apart in feet. So they're actually asking about a distance. So I think drawing a diagram might be very helpful. So let's say that this is the sea, and we're going to call this 0 feet sea level. And if I went down, divers diving below, then we're going to call this negative 34. And his friend, who is above sea level, is 6 feet, so we'll call this positive 6. So we want to know the distance from where his friend is and where the diver is. So please write an expression that you think might be able to represent this problem using the distance formula, and then check back with the answer. If you thought the expression should be negative 34 minus 6 in the absolute value bars, you're absolutely correct. You could, of course, have written it as 6 minus negative 34 if you prefer. And now please complete the next 2 steps and tell me what the answer is. So we had to use keep change change. When we did, we have 2 same sign numbers. We add them and keep the sign. Those absolute value bars mean we want the positive value of that number. And so because it's a word problem, we want to answer the question. So it asks how far apart in feet are the 2 friends. The 2 friends are 40 feet apart. So the next problem, you notice, has a star, and if you'd like to complete this for a challenge problem and show me in class, that'd be awesome. Let's go down to the last problem now. Let's read through this together. The temperature on January 1st was negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit. On January 2nd, the temperature was 8 degrees Fahrenheit. On the number line below, plot the temperature for January 1st and January 2nd. Be sure to label both points with the appropriate date. So they've given us a number line, and then the question is, how much warmer was it on January 2nd? And they give us the sentence. We just have to fill in degrees warmer. You notice it says how much warmer. They're asking us for the difference in temperature. So you could use a distance formula, or since they've given us this line, we must follow some of the directions on the line, yet you could still use a distance formula if you prefer to solve it that way. So one of the things I want you to notice is they said that we have to plot the temperatures for both dates on the number line. So that must be done. Very important. They say to label both points with the appropriate date. And then the question that they're asking, they want us to fill in here. So please continue this problem on your own and answer the question at the end based on your work.